You can keep on drinking your coffee because this is a coffee-oriented podcast.
Okay.
The more, the better. Gary, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
What finds you in Madrid?
I'm coming here for an event for La Liga, a new football museum with lots of famous former footballers, and somehow I've crept into the list.
So the Legends Museum, do you have one? Do you have a piece in there that?
No, I don't think so. Although I'm certainly old enough to be in a museum. But I haven't seen it yet, so we're going to go in about an hour's time.
It made lots of noise when actually one of your teammates from '86 sold the famous Maradona Hand of God jersey, and the museum missed it, actually.
Exactly. The biggest mistake of my career was not changing shirts with Diego at the end of that match.
Did you think about it?
No, I'm joking. Steve Hodge took the shirt, actually, and he got a lot of criticism in the English dressing room after, because of obviously what happened in the game, the Hand of God. But I think he made the right decision. I think he got something like over $8 million, something like that for it. Crazy.
How many times have you been asked that question? Did you see it happen?
I've been asked the question a lot. Did I see it happen? No. I was at the other end of the pitch, obviously, as always. And I didn't see it, but I could tell instantly from the reaction of my teammates that something was amiss. And it was fairly obvious that they were making the signals that he punched it in. So I remember looking at the linesman and thinking, he knows. And he latterly admitted it, but he said he didn't have the courage to put his flag up.
From your perspective, what do you recall from the second goal?
The second goal was, I think, probably the greatest goal ever scored, because you have to take into consideration the circumstances, the fact that it was England against Argentina in a World Cup game, a quarter final, a few years after the Falklands and all that sort of stuff. And it was scored on a playing surface that was not very good at all. So it was quite remarkable, really, to do that. The incredible skill. This one I did see. I saw it all the way. But there was a foul that was leading up to Diego getting the ball. Before he was past the ball, there's a terrible foul on Glenn Hoddle that the referee also missed. So actually, we won 1-0, and we went on to win the final. But everyone doesn't realise that. So.
With all that taken into consideration, you were probably one of the few Englishmen that had a good relationship with Diego.
I did have a good relationship with Diego. I'm not the kind of person that bears grudges. I admired him as a footballer. I thought he was, I never thought I'd see a better player ever than Diego. I think Messi's up there and probably edges it because of longevity of career. But Diego was something special, and he was a great person. Yes, he punched the ball in. He got away with it, but I blame the officials more than I do him. It was. I suppose that game in many ways summed up Diego, his whole life, really. The cheekiness, and the ability to do things that perhaps you shouldn't do in life occasionally, but also the absolute brilliance and the genius of the man, and what a footballer he was.
So when you put them together, and I hate comparing, and I'm not asking you to do so. Where is Messi in the realm of all the greatest of all time?
Well, I don't like comparing either, especially those two. But the similarities between the two are extraordinary on the field. They're very different personalities off the field. I think on the field, obviously, both diminutive, both had an incredible left foot, the ability to weave past and beat players easily, to find the right pass, and to score goals. I think in terms of ability, they're very, very similar. Of course, it was harder to play in Diego's time or my time, because people could kick you off the pitch, which we saw, didn't we, in '82. In that competition, and eventually he retaliated and got shown the red card himself. And also the playing surfaces are so much better now. So that favours the modern day footballer like Messi. But I think, in terms of ability, they're very similar. But I just think because Messi's done it for 20 years and has won absolutely everything in the game, I think if I had to choose, which I don't like to do, I would choose Messi. But I wasn't quite old enough to see much of Pele. I only caught him at the end. So for me, those two stand out from, lots of unbelievably brilliant footballers that we've seen in recent times.
Taking advantage of your youthfulness, let's put it that way. We've seen finals recently, Champions League final, Nations League finals. I saw CONCACAF Nations League final yesterday, and finals here, finals there. Where can we rank the 2022 Qatar World Cup final when we recall what finals are? And usually us as journalists go, oh, finals are meant to be won, not played. And then there's that excuse that you can retrieve and wait and be more cautious.
Yeah.
We just remember of Argentina playing the way they played in 22 in that final, and France coming back. Where does that rank?
Well, I always thought that the game that we just talked about was probably the most, not necessarily the greatest game ever that played, but probably the most talked about game that's ever been played was the Hand of God game of Diego and the greatest ever goal. But I honestly think this World Cup final was truly extraordinary. I mean, it looked like being a very mundane, comfortable 2-0 win for Argentina, who were very dominant in the whole game. France were really poor on the day. And then suddenly out of nowhere, there's a penalty in Mbappe, then the great goal from Mbappe. And it was built, wasn't it, as the final between Messi and Mbappe. And that when those things happen, they often disappoint. But this one didn't, because all of a sudden, I mean, the extra time, I think, was the most exhilarating 30 minutes football I think I can ever remember. I was at the game as well, so I was blessed to be there. I mean, it was extraordinary. They were just going at each other end to end. And then it could have been won by either side in the last minute, but in the end it went to the penalty shootouts, which is always drama. And I always thought if it went to penalties that Argentina would win, particularly with Martinez in goal, who's he's tough to beat in goal, and he's a tough competitor.
So since we're so close to hyperbole, where does Manchester City rank as far as best teams ever?
Oh, it's too early to put them up against either, I would say, the great Barcelona team of Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, Eto'o, or even the great Milan side, of course, with, call it right, Card, Van Basten, players like that, and in even other Milan sides as well. So, and the great Real Madrid side of way back when. I think they need to win, 2 or 3 Champions Leagues before we consider that, but they are a wonderfully gifted football team.
Well, Pep must be rolling right now thinking, wow, I won 1, now they're asking me to win 3.
Well, he's won 3. He won 2 at Barcelona. So
yeah, but 2 more at City.
Well, no, I'm talking about I'm not talking about Pep. If you're talking about the best coaches ever, I'd already have Pep Guardiola at the top, up there with other greats. But in terms of the team, they need to do a bit more. They do need to win a bit more to take their place alongside the greats. They're an excellent football team. They've had a brilliant season, but the argument in our country is, are they the best English team ever? And you could make an argument for that, but not yet the greatest team ever. They need to do more.
Gary, there's so many things to talk to you about. I want to go back to the legends portion of it, and when you started talking about Maradona, the times that refereeing back then have changed definitely. You never got a yellow card. Did you ever think,
Fernando?
Did you think that you'd actually deserve one that you might have not gotten because, I don't know, a referee knew about the streak?
Probably. I can think of 1 or 2 things I might have got away with, but it was, but not. I don't know. It's a different game now. You get yellow cards, for almost anything now. It was a miracle to play 3 years in Spain without getting a yellow card. That is true, because referees used to they were like a toasty, like toasties coming out of the.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah, I know it's not changed, but the rest of the world has caught up with it, and now there are yellow cards dished out for anything, so it's changed.
How tough has it been to carry on with that stat and live with it as a personality?
It's not a bad stat, is it?
Not at all, but it's scary. You can't get a yellow card in life either.
I know. Well, no, I've had one or two in my post life, yellow cards and the occasional red now. So for different circumstances.
And I know this would have been a great interview to have about 2 months ago, right?
I hope it's a great interview to have now, but 2 months ago would have been. Yeah, it was. I was staying quiet for a few days then.
And this leads to my next question. There's a fine line between the personalities and nowadays influencers, right? That you write things and people read them, and millions of people read what you write, and millions of people listen to what you say. It's that why our opinion on politics rubs people the wrong way because we have a platform?
I don't know. I think it only rubs people the wrong way if they disagree with you. That's from my experience. People say, right, you're a sportsman, you're a footballer, stick to sport, stick to football until they disagree. If they disagree with you, that is. If they agree with you, you can talk about anything you like, any subject that comes to mind. Yeah. So you expect that. Plus, if you have a big platform, you will inevitably have some people that will disagree with you. But I've never, do I want a plumber to just talk about plumbing? Do I want an electrician to just talk about being an electrician? Do I want a doctor just to talk about doing surgery? No, everyone's entitled to their opinion on whatever matter it is. Disagree, fine. Do it agreeably as well if you possibly can. And then it's debate. It's good to debate things. And we all have different, opinions on stuff. I think it's good to share them. And you can't say, yeah, but your platforms too many. There are too many people following you, so that's not fair. So where do you draw the line? Is it like 100 followers? Is it 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers? You can have an opinion, but if you've got more than 1 million, maybe not. I don't know. It just life doesn't work like that.
No, I can relate. I can definitely relate. Gary, moving on to La Liga's summer tour, which is the reason why we're here. The summer tour this June, July, and late July and early August will pit 4 teams in Mexico, in Guadalajara and Monterrey, and then in San Francisco. How big is the US to the soccer, to the football market nowadays when the World Cup is going to be held here in 26?
Well, it's growing, isn't it? Anyway, we can see that there's a lot more interest, and if, as seems likely, that Messi will join Miami, then that's going to make a massive interest. Levels will get bigger and bigger. So I think it's becoming more and more important in the US. There's no question about that. It's a growing sport. The interest is escalating very quickly. And why are teams from Spain or England or Germany going to the US or even Mexico and Central America? Because they can see a growing market. And there's no question that is the case. Finally, the Americans are working out that football is the best sport of all. Although a lot of them will still resist that. But anyway, it's only time.
It definitely, there is a place in the ecosystem of sports for football in America. There's definitely a place in the ecosystem of British sports for Americans as well, right? And you can tell that from the ownership of half of the Premier League teams being Americans.
Yeah, exactly. And that in itself tells a story that they're investing in English football clubs. But also, you go to schools in America now, and I think it's just about the most played sport in schools. So it is growing. It's inevitable. It's a global sport. It's huge around the world. It's so important to so many people. It's it's almost like a religion to so many nations around the world. So they're catching up.
Gary, we're going to let you go off to the museum. Hopefully next time we can actually meet in the museum and you and I can look at one of your pieces there.
Well, maybe. That would be great.
That would be boot from 1986. Do you still have it?
I think that my boots from 86 are actually in the Adidas Museum in Germany.
Oh, look at
so
that.
Maybe we can prize them out.
Gary, thank you so much.
Give them back. My pleasure.
Great to meet you.
And you.
Take
Cheers,
care.
man.
Thank you.
All the best.